everyone, and welcome to AMC Mailbag, the all-mailbag show here on AMC Movie News, where all we do is take your questions. I'm Ashley Move, and if you've got a question that you want answered on air, send it over anytime to amcmovietalk@gmail.com. You could get it answered on Mailbag or Movie Talk, and sitting with me to answer some of those questions is the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, John. John, how are you today?
I'm doing good, but apparently not as good as you are doing. That's a sweet Tomorrowland jacket you're wearing.
No big deal, no big deal.
Ashley just got back from, hanging out with George Clooney.
I know, just me and George having some tea.
Cloon.
That's just hanging out.
Well, how was he?
He was really, really nice. A lot nicer than I don't know why. You think George Clooney, like, who's bigger than George Clooney? He stood up when I walked into the room. He was such a nice guy.
He stood when you walked in the room?
He stood, and he was like, after you. And I was like, oh, George, no, after you, I insist.
Nice day.
Nice day. All right, first question comes from Ashray Bhandare, and they write, congratulations on Phase 3. What did you think about the new Mr. Holmes trailer? They are portraying Sherlock Holmes in a different light, aren't they? I think Sir Ian McKellen is the right man for the job.
This is one of those dream casting situations. Like, seriously, like I heard about the Sherlock Holmes the project a long time ago, and it was like, it's interesting. You're always rolling the dice and taking a bit of a risk when you take a classical either character or group or whatever, and you try to do things a little bit differently. This is such a different look at and a different twist and a different take and a different era too for a Sherlock Holmes look. And when you see the trailer, like, you think into your head, Ian McKellen playing an older Sherlock Holmes sounds great, but it isn't until you see this trailer that you realize exactly how spot on this was. Like, this was some of the best casting ever. And you're right. After you finish watching this trailer, you walk away from the senses, this was the guy. And I always say, look, there's no such thing as the guy for a role. Just because one guy is great in it doesn't mean 30 other guys couldn't have been even better. But man, it's hard to shake that feeling after seeing him in this role that, yeah, this is the guy to do it. And once again, it's such a different take on it. I haven't seen the film yet. And maybe, the trailer is a little bit of fool's gold and they're just highlighting the cool differences, and maybe it'll actually end up feeling like a mess. I don't know. But it feels interesting. I like it when filmmakers will take a risk on something that's really established, like the Sherlock Holmes character is, and you get a guy like Ian McKellen in, it's just the right thing to do. So, yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Potential stupid question.
Sure.
When I say that, I could really just say anything after
anything
that.
You want to do at all.
But I looked it up on IMDb, and there's already a rating for it. How does that work out? The movie doesn't come out till like mid-July.
Because, and this is one of the reasons why I tell people, never, ever, ever, ever pay attention to anything on IMDb, but especially the ratings, because IMDb, there's no guidelines for who can vote on IMDb or when you can vote. You can go onto that page right now, and even though you have not seen the movie, you can start casting votes. And you start casting 20 or 30 of them. One of the worst examples of this was, I remember when The Dark Knight came out, and I think the number one rated film on IMDb was The Godfather. And groups of people started to try to organize. Hey, everybody, go to IMDb and vote zeros for The Godfather and just vote tens for The Dark Knight. We want to get The Dark Knight to be the number one rated thing. It's like, well, then that's fake.
Yeah.
Then it's totally fake. And that's one of the reasons why I would say, hey, John, this movie's got a whatever rating on IMDb. It's like, it doesn't matter. The IMDb thing is completely irrelevant.
I did not know that.
There you go.
All right. Jake Company writes, hi, AMC. Been loving the show. Just had a question. As you guys know, the Russo Brothers have been given to direct a Captain America movie and 2 Avengers movies. Do you think giving them these massive films to direct is a risky move by Marvel, seeing all they have is a Cap America movie and not played a massive part behind the camera of the MCU? Thanks, and keep up the great work.
It's so funny. Me and Christian Harloff were talking about this the other day. First of all, yeah, it is risky. It's real risky. You do one film. Let's put it this way too. When the Russo brothers got announced for Captain America, a lot of people, including myself, were like, ooh, that's a bit of a risk. I mean, these guys, didn't they direct like episodes of How I Met Your Mother? These guys are going to do a Captain America movie? What? And so they do it, and it was a little bit of a risk and all that kind of stuff. But they knocked it out of the park. I'll get back to that in a second. But now moving forward, okay, they did one great movie, and now they're given 3 more. massive properties. I think this is a bit of a risk. Now, to understand, put this little asterisk beside me saying that though. Captain America Winter Soldier, I watched it again the other day. That movie isn't just good, and it's not just great. It's awesome. I didn't think another movie would be able to supplant Thor, the original Thor, for me as my favorite Marvel standalone film, but they did it with Captain America Winter Soldier. That movie has just got so many different layers of depth to it that no other Marvel movie has ever had. They did such a great job of really taking the Marvel cinematic experience and making it something different and new. It's really, like they always said, it's a 70s style political thriller in many ways. It's amazing what they did with that film. That being said, it's still just one film. M. Night Shyamalan did Sixth Sense, and that was great. And then where did it go from there? So, I mean, to then give them Captain America Civil War, okay, yeah, they did good with the one. Let's give them another one, see what they do. But even before they start shooting that one, they give them Infinity Gauntlet 1 and 2. So I have a couple of little bits of apprehension about it. Number one, the fact that we've only seen one good movie out of them, and now they're going to be, in charge of the next 3 biggest, probably most massive Marvel films ever. But the other one is this. I always get a little weary and cautious when any director or a pair of directors stays on one property for too long. Things start to feel and taste a little bit stale. So I'm nervous for a lot of reasons, but if we're going to be nervous, I'd rather it be about the Russo brothers, who did such an incredible job with Captain America Winter Soldier. I'm just looking forward to Civil War. Can't wait to see what they do. And I hope that when we see Civil War, it's going to alleviate any worries or any fears people like me might have moving forward, because the future looks good.
Let's say audiences don't like Infinity War Part 1. Is there a chance that they can switch directors, or is it already set in stone for Part 2?
No, well, that's the great thing in Hollywood, is that nothing is ever set in stone. Nothing ever is until they say, and that's a wrap and the film's done.
Do they sign contracts or anything?
Well, yeah, but that's the interesting thing about contracts with the directors as well, is Marvel can sign a contract. This is the thing, some people say, Sebastian Stan, we talk about this a lot. Sebastian Stan signed a deal for 7 films with Marvel. And everybody starts saying, well, that means he's going to do this. It means nothing. You know who had a 4-film deal with Marvel? Who's the guy who's the star of Empire? Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard had a 4-film deal with Marvel too. Guess what? He was in 1 movie.
Oh, he was great.
And he was great. But Don Cheadle's great too. I'm not complaining about anything, but the fact of the matter is, with the Marvel setups, it is you sign the talent, whether it's directing talent, acting talent, whatever, for the amount of films that they want to be able to use them for. But that doesn't mean they're going to use them. They can change their minds, swap them out, do whatever they want to do. All it means, when an actor like Sebastian Stan signs a contract for 7 films, that doesn't mean they're going to put him in 7 films. All that means is that if Marvel decides to call on him, says, you got to come and appear in this movie as Winter Soldier, then he is obligated to come back and appear as Winter Soldier. But it does not obligate Marvel to use him. So that's the and I think the same thing is with the directors too. I'm sure they sign a deal, and I'm sure if they pull them off, there's probably something in the contract that says, okay, if you pull us out of this movie, we still get paid X amount, something like that. But yeah, if Civil War comes out and it's total crap, which it's not going to be, but for the sake of the question, if it comes out and it's total crap, very soon after it, you're going to get a press release that said, from the Russo brothers, say, we've loved our time with Marvel, but we've got other creative projects we want to go and do. And we'll all go, yeah, sure. But that's probably what will happen.
All right. Harry Green writes, damn good show, guys. I was listening to your segment on Terminator Genisys. And do you think that this franchise is struggling because it keeps replaying the same plot line over and over again? Meaning that they keep having someone go back in time to Sarah Connor trying to kill her. I think they have to find a way of moving forward, maybe actually have Skynet win. With the death of both Sarah and her son, John, the remaining humans are being assimilated into cyborgs, yet a new hero emerges from the ashes who just happens to be John Connor's daughter.
I don't think anywhere in the Terminator mythology do the machines assimilate humans into cyborgs. I don't think that's what they do. But no, I think I understand where you're coming from with the question, but the time traveling and then saving somebody, that's kind of the core of what the Terminator franchise and the mythology really is. It worked great for number 1. It worked great for number 2. Did things start to go off the rails with 3? Yeah. And I think in the last one, if I'm not mistaken, Dennis or Jonathan help me out, but I do believe the machines did end up winning at the end. I think, they were trying to stop Judgment Day and Skynet, and the movie ends with, Judgment Day starting, and then going, I guess it was just destined that this was going to happen regardless. So,
right, yeah, number 3, you watched the Holocaust, the nuclear Holocaust.
Right, so that was number 3, right?
Yeah.
So that was that one, and then they didn't so much use the same formula with Terminator Salvation, which that movie was terrible. So no, I think the mythology and their particular identifying story structure, which is the going back in time to stop this, right? I think that's an identifying mark of the franchise. And I think as you're trying to restart this franchise with a new trilogy, and their goal here is a new trilogy, that's what they're trying to do, but they got to knock it out of the park with the first one first. To do that, then you go back to that, what is your identity? As a franchise, what is the identity of this franchise? And that's the identity of the franchise. Let's see if they can make it work.
They have a pretty strong cast. So do you think that all these actors would get together and sign on to this film if they didn't think it had a lot of potential?
Well, you could say that with any cast, with any bad film ever. I mean, let's look at what was it, Dan? Was it Gangster Squad? It's Gangster Squad. I mean, look at that. You had Ryan Gosling, you had Sean Penn, you had Giovanni Ribisi, you had Thanos. What's his?
Josh Brolin.
You had Josh Brolin. You had all these guys, terrific. And that was one of the crappiest movies of that year and of the last couple. I mean, it was just terrible. So, look, a lot of people got to remember too that everybody starts, and I think this will probably come up again later, but every film project starts with everybody wanting to make a great movie. Mm-hmm. You write a script and you read it. Like, trust me, there are some bad movies out there. We've talked about this a whole bunch of times, me and the guys, where there's a whole bunch of bad movies where if you just read the script and forget that you saw the movie, try to wipe it out of your mind and then just read the script, you'd go, this script was actually pretty good. This was not a bad script. And then it just gets executed poorly or whatever. Everybody starts thinking they're going to make a great movie. But making a great movie is one of the hardest things in the world to do. And then you just see where it goes.
All right. Jakeson TV writes, many people, including myself, are really keen to know what Andy Serkis's role is in the new Star Wars trilogy. I've heard that his character could be a character who has watched from behind the scenes of the original trilogy and could even be behind Palpatine pulling all the strings from afar, though this would ruin Palpatine in my opinion. I think he could be more than likely be someone involved with Adam Driver's Kylo Ren character and the new Order/Empire due to his sinister voice in TFA's first trailer. What are your thoughts? Thanks. Love the show and stay awesome.
Well, yeah, everybody is wanting to know, like, who is Serkis going to be? Like, Andy Serkis, ever since they announced that Andy Serkis was going to be a part of it, who's he going to be? Are we actually going to see Andy Serkis like we do in Avengers Age of Ultron? Are we not physically going to see him like we do in his Planet of the Apes and as Gollum in the Lord of the Rings films? Well, we don't know. We simply don't know. Everything you have heard, though, I can tell you this, everything you have heard is not true. Not that everything you've heard is wrong, but nothing that you have heard comes from a place of fact. In other words, Lucasfilm hasn't told anybody who Andy Serkis is going to play. So if you've heard he's doing this, that's coming from somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. That doesn't mean they may not get lucky and they may actually be right. But just understand, any place you've heard this from doesn't actually know what they're talking about. And as much as when I say that I think Kylo Ren is going to do this, that's not coming from a place of fact either. That's coming from me speculating. So everything you've heard about Andy Serkis's role in Star Wars: The Force Awakens is speculation. Keep that in mind. But it doesn't mean it's bad speculation. But I think a lot of us just instantly go to this place where we automatically think he's going to be a villain. Or he might be some high power guy, right? For all we know, Andy Serkis is going to be a bartender. He's going to be that guy from Star Wars: A New Hope who goes, your droids aren't welcome here. For all we know, he's going to be that new guy. A little bit of trivia. I think that guy was in porn. I don't know. I think you've heard that, right? Actually, fact checker Jonathan, you look at the bartender from Star Wars and New Hope who says your droids aren't welcome here. I'm pretty sure he did Dutch porn or something like that, something along those lines.
That's great.
What does that have to do with Andy Serkis? Absolutely nothing. But for all we know, he could be some like rebel pilot number 5. He could be like Imperial officer, whatever that John Ratzenberger was in like Empire Strikes Back. Who knows? Maybe it'll be somebody here. Now, I also agree with what you said in the letter there about, look, if you made him some powerful dude behind the curtain pulling the strings of Palpatine, that just undoes so much of the greatness of the original trilogy. And I hate it when movies do that. I hate it when new movies undermine what came before it. Like, don't do that. I think you're absolutely right. That would completely ruin Palpatine. So, who knows what he's going to be? Maybe he'll be the new leader of the Empire.
Yeah, I think people are speculating he's going to be a villain because of the voice in the trailer. It sounded.
Sure, but I don't think we've heard definitively that was him.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong about that. By all means, guys, in the comment section, I've heard people say that, but I haven't. Personally, I can't remember actually hearing anybody say that definitively was Andy Serkis, but maybe they did. And if they did, by all means, drop that in the comment section. Because if that was Andy Serkis, then that wasn't the voice of your Sunday school teacher. Yeah. That was a bad guy. Hey, fact checker Jonathan, we've been able to find anything on that actor?
No, maybe it's been deleted from the internet.
Maybe you can't.
In my head, he's a Dutch porn star, and that's the way it's going to stay.
Is the internet filtered? Maybe that's why.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, in our office here.
Jeff Hudgens writes, in the modern digital age, are movie posters still relevant to a marketing campaign, or is it just a tradition thing?
No, it's not just a tradition thing. Look, movie posters, they are the visible representation of what your film is, that you're trying to get out and get people's eyeballs on. It's the first bit of marketing that most people will see. Now, if you're just thinking about the movie poster as in the physical one sheet that you're going to hang at the movie theater and stuff like that, that is also not just for nostalgia's sake. I mean, who are the most likely to go to movies? People going to the movies. So you go to the movies and you see the movie posters, and that's where a lot of people, remember, not everybody's like you and me that we're on, the internet, moving in these movie news circles and stuff like that. We're the minority of people. So for a lot of people, their first exposure to a new movie coming out in a few months is when they're in the movie theater to see another film and they see their posters around. And online in the digital age, the role of the movie poster is just more important, because what becomes that one single image that becomes a representation of what your film is? It's the poster. And the role of the poster has not changed, going from the physical paper age into the digital age. A compelling image that captures the intentions of the audience, hopefully conveys a little bit about what you can expect from a movie like this, and motivates people to want to see it. That's what it's been for 70 years, and it still is today. And the fact now that we have digital images of them instead of the physical paper, and we still have the physical paper hanging all over our office in here, it's not just a nostalgia thing. It's not just a traditional thing. It is a serious marketing thing.
Yeah, we talk about it. Talk about new posters all the time on this show.
Oh, absolutely.
What's been your favorite of 2015 so far?
Oh my gosh. Favorite poster 2015 so far?
I feel like we talk about the Batman, Superman ones like all the time.
I mean, Batman, Superman stuff is great. Those...
the AntMan one, the little mini one.
I love that AntMan poster. Not the newest one, which is total crap. But the one that's basically just a white screen, and in the middle of the thing is just this dot. So creative and innovative. I don't know that's my favorite. That's one that stands out to me.
All right. Blake S. writes, hello, AMC crew. I know Captain America Civil War is packed to the brim with characters, and I'm sure Infinity Wars will be as well. Do you think Paul Rudd as Ant-Man could be involved in any of the upcoming slated Marvel films? Thanks, guys. Love the show.
Well, actually, just a couple of days ago on AMC Movie Talk, we talked about this, or just yesterday, I should say, we talked about it, it's now official. Paul Rudd is in Captain America Civil War. He's going to be there. So is Black Panther. What I really got excited about, because I expected we were going to see Paul Rudd in Captain America Civil War. What I was not expecting, what I got real excited about, and I'm going to say his name wrong because I think I always do. William Hurt. William Hurt, General Thunderbolt Ross from the Incredible Hulk movie, is back, baby. I never thought he would come back. I think he had some negative experiences making the Hulk, but I thought he was a great Thunderbolt Ross. He's one of the all-time great actors. And this report from Variety that we talked about yesterday revealed that he is indeed coming back for Captain America Civil War. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess he's going to be on the Iron Man side of things. And of course, we saw him in that post-credit scene, hanging out with Tony Stark in the bar and talking about the Avengers Initiative, all this kind of stuff. I was so excited to see this. So getting to your actual question, yeah, Paul Rudd is coming. We always felt that he would be. For them to do AntMan right before Civil War. Actually, we talked on Movie Talk about a week or so ago where I said, look, everybody don't forget, because some people were criticizing like Avengers Age of Ultron, that it didn't lead into Civil War enough. But, our thing was, don't forget, there's another Marvel movie between Avengers Age of Ultron and Civil War, and that's Ant-Man. Everybody keeps forgetting about Ant-Man. And I do think Ant-Man is going to play directly into Civil War. And as such, I really thought Paul Rudd would be showing up in that as well. So no big surprise there, but was very surprised to find out William Hurt's coming back. Very excited. And then everybody, it really does feel like everybody's in this movie now. Like Hulk's not going to be there, Thor's not going to be there, but it feels like everybody else is. They just announced the other day Emily Van Camp is coming back as Agent 13. So, I mean, it's a big packed cast, but yes, Paul Rudd and Ant-Man are going to be a part of this universe.
Does it worry you at all that you're going to get some Spider-Man 2 action with the overcrowdedness?
Well, here's the thing. I very rarely worry about overcrowded. Things only feel overcrowded when you misuse the characters you have. Every movie has look on the IMDb page of just about any movie. There's going to be 40 or 50 or 60 people on that list. It's just that they're not characters you recognize, because one guy is just going to be Bob, the guy who sits in the main girl's cubicle next to her or whatever, right? Because you look at movies like X-Men Days of Future Past, loaded with characters. It was fine. It was totally fine. You look at a lot of different movies just loaded with characters, they're fine. What I'm afraid of with Captain America Civil War is not the sense of overcrowding. I am afraid of Captain America Civil War not being a Captain America movie. I'm worried about it being what Anthony Mackie said, it's Avengers 2.8. I don't want Avengers 2.8, especially after watching Captain America Winter Soldier. That was a great movie that showed you can bring in other characters. It had Black Widow, it had Falcon, it had Nick Fury, it had all those guys. And yet it was very clearly and definitively a Captain America movie. As they start announcing all these people, because, especially when they started with Tony Stark, I mean, that's the big one. But, Hawkeye's going to be there. Black Widow's going to be there. Falcon's going to be there. Ant-Man's going to be there now. Thunderbolt Ross. Like, everybody's going to be in there. My fear isn't overcrowding. My fear is that more and more this is starting to feel like it's not going to be a Captain America movie. It's going to be Avengers 2.5. And that's not what I personally want. So fingers crossed. I'm going to choose to believe they're going to know how to navigate it and do it well. Yeah. But it is the one thing I'm worried about.
Did you see his new costume, Captain America?
No. Are you talking about the one he wears in Avengers?
No, they I think like yesterday or something, they released a picture of his costume.
Yes. No, I did see that costume. And
very slight changes.
Slight change. It's always slight change.
Yeah.
Still clearly Captain America. I don't think I love it. Like, I think my favorite Captain America costume is still the one from the original movie.
The classic.
Yeah, when he was back in World War II, there was something that felt. And then in Captain America, Winter Soldier, when he changes back into that costume, that felt so damn good.
He's such a babe.
Yeah, he's a babe. That's exactly what I was thinking.
All right, Corey writes, hey, AMC fam, I dig the show and catch it every day. My question revolves around special effects and which movie effects do you think stand the test of time? Movies not named Star Wars. Some movies that come to mind in no particular order are The War of the Worlds. I believe that came out in the late 50s or early 60s, King Kong the 70s, Independence Day, Aliens, T2, and although a little silly but a guilty pleasure, Disney's The Black Hole, which I would love to see remade.
Well, there was going off on a side note, there's development on a Black Hole remake. They've been trying to get that remade now for like 5 years. And I believe they haven't abandoned it. I still think they're working on it. And I'm sure we'll talk about that another time. When talking about effects that hold up, some people think that means, or what they choose to define that as, is can you watch it today and it still today looks like those effects were done today? That's a stupid measurement. The art and the science of visual effects advances so quickly and moves ahead so fast that even effects that from like 2005, for example, if you play them today, you can tell those effects weren't done today. The question is, how good were the effects done? Considering the context of the environment and what tools they had to use and all that kind of stuff. Now, you bring up Star Wars. You watch Star Wars now. I just rewatched the entire trilogy again just last week. And do those effects look like they were done today? Absolutely not. But do they hold up? Absolutely, because they were so perfectly used. They used the effects they had at the time, and they used them so well that it just felt seamlessly like it integrated into the story and became a part of it, and that's the way it works. So if you're asking me for a movie that's not named Star Wars that does something like that, one movie that really stands out to me, I cannot remember the year, but was The Abyss with I think it's Ed Harris starred in The Abyss. That's the deep sea, deep underwater one with the aliens and so. Oops, spoiler. Anyway, Abyss is just one of those. It did things with visual effects at the time that were groundbreaking, but were so perfectly used. And even today, while you can tell that this was not visual effects done in today's era, you just watch it and it brings you into the story. It's done so well, so great. One of the most underappreciated visual effects accomplishments, I think, in Hollywood history was The Abyss. And it's just a great movie. If you have not seen The Abyss, watch The Abyss. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. I think you'll get a big kick out of it. And if you like the show Archer, the animated show Archer, that season where he finds out Lana is pregnant and they're in the underwater thing and he's got to drown himself. That's totally a big homage to The Abyss. Check it out if you get a chance.
Okay.
There you go.
What about the Exorcist, the special effects in The Exorcist? I love horror movies and everyone's, oh my God, The Exorcist is the most scary movie of all time. But I don't think it's scary because I don't buy the effects.
Here's the funny thing. I actually really like The Exorcist, but I also don't find it very scary.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually when you're talking about a horror film, if it's not scary, it doesn't matter if you do everything else right. You're done. Like a comedy, right? You do a comedy, if you don't make people laugh, you can do everything else perfectly, your movie's going to fail. But The Exorcist is one of those films to me that I felt is a really well-made film, but didn't scare me. I didn't think it was the effects that pulled me out of it, didn't make it scary. I just didn't find the movie very scary in the first place, yet still a very, very good movie. But yeah, I think for a lot of people, I mean, for some people who are fans of horror,
I'm like, oh my gosh.
I know.
Are you serious? Come on.
For a lot of people love cheesiness in their visual effects in horror movies. Like the cheesier, the more ridiculous, the better for a lot of people. But they can serve or work against you depending on the film.
All right. Jeff L. writes, hey, AMC crew, I love your show, and you guys have me cracking up. My question is about Oscar winners. I know John Campea has said in the past that film is subjective. Has there ever been an actor/actress that was nominated for an award that you felt should have won and then won another award that you felt they should not have won? Mine is Denzel Washington. When he won for Best Actor in Training Day, I felt that he should not have won for that award, but I think he should have won for Malcolm X. What are your thoughts? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
I think there are a few films that Denzel could have won for. Actually, that's the one a lot of people will talk about when talking about actors who won an award that maybe they didn't deserve, but there are others they did deserve. The one that everybody always seems to come back to is the Denzel Washington one. And I happen to agree with that one. I honestly didn't think he deserved the Academy Award for Training Day, but I believe he should have already have had one or two of them trophies on his shelf at that point. But it's all subjective. Like, just because I didn't think he should have won doesn't mean other people doesn't think he should have won. There's some other things come up too. A lot of people will talk about Martin Scorsese. In this, there are a number of people out there who thought Martin Scorsese should have won several Academy Awards, but he never did win one until The Departed. And there were a number of people who thought he shouldn't have won for The Departed. Personally, I think those people are insane. I think Martin Scorsese completely deserved the Academy Award for The Departed. I love that movie. What he did with that movie is just incredible. Another one is Al Pacino. Al Pacino won his Academy Award for Scent of a Woman, and I didn't think he should have won that year. I do believe he should have already had a couple. Serpico, Godfathers 1 and 2. So he could have had a couple on his mantle already. So the one that really stands out to me is probably Al Pacino. But once again, that's just me. Like I said, there are people who don't think that Scorsese should have had an award for The Departed. I think they're crazy. I think he did deserve it. I say Denzel didn't deserve it for Training Day. He should have got it for other things, but there are people who are going to think I'm crazy that he did deserve for Training Day. So in the end of the day, it is all subjective, but the one that does stand out to me would be Al Pacino.
Denzel Washington, that year, who was he up against? Because, I mean, Denzel Washington's such a big name.
Oh,
I just
my
think that
gosh.
he would
Actually,
get
fact checker Jonathan, can you look up for us who was nominated against Denzel Washington the year that he won for Training Day?
Sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, too. It's a great question because when you're talking about Academy Awards, what a lot of people, they always forget that there are other actors in the running. They just see a performance that they really liked and say, he was awesome in that. He should have won an Academy Award. When what you got to do is say, well, it's not, and this is what makes winning Academy Awards so impossible.
Right.
Just ask Leonardo DiCaprio. Because not only do you have to turn in close to a performance of a lifetime for yourself, you then have to step back and hope out of the other people nominated, that there wasn't somebody else who just happened to do a little bit better than even you did that year. So you've had Leonardo DiCaprio who, look, you pull out his performances from the years he got nominated and drop them in a couple of other years, he maybe would have 1 or 2 Academy Awards by now. But he keeps running into guys who just happen to do a little bit better than he did that year, which makes it really tough. Were you able to find those, John?
Yeah, so Russell Crowe, A Beautiful Mind. Will Smith,
Russell Crowe, Beautiful Mind should have won that year.
Yeah. Will Smith, Ali, Sean Penn, I Am Sam, and Tom Wilkinson's In the Bedroom.
Stacked
Tough
year.
competition
Stacked
there.
year. Absolutely stacked year. Russell Crowe should have won that year. Hands down. He should have won that year. Sean Penn was amazing in that year as well. I mean, that was a stacked year. It was not... I still don't think it's the year Denzel should have won. He should have won other times, but not that time.
That was a tough year.
Is that it?
That is it.
Oh my goodness.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for joining us. And just a reminder, lots of great movies being shown in AMC theaters today. So go ahead and head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theaters, your showtimes, and your ticket information. And if you want a podcast version of this episode, check out the description box below for a link to our podcast. And make sure to click that subscribe button. Thanks to the guys in the room, Dennis and Jonathan, and thanks to John. John, where can people find you online?
You guys can follow me on Twitter or on Facebook just by following me at John Campia.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Ashley Mova. I hope you guys are having a great Saturday, and we will catch you next time. Bye.